Kelvin, good to see you. And obviously, we talk on the back of an agreement being reached, something that's been rumbling on the background for a long time. You must be really pleased that this has been announced.
Oh, I think so, yeah. I think it takes a bit of pressure off us, and now we've got to make sure that we get through the next process, which is Cabinet and Council in December, and which we feel and we've been told should be a smooth process, and hopefully it will be. It's been a lot of work. I think it's fair to say, fair play to the Council. There's been a lot of work in the background to ensure that once it does hit Council and Cabinet, that it's going to be a smooth process, because the detail work has been done in the background with the independent report. So, and I think that's the most pleasing for us, is that independent report, and we've agreed with the findings, and we hopefully can move on.
That's a really important part you mentioned there, because it's been going on for a long time, the negotiations, and part of that reason is because of independent valuations, the delicacy of these negotiations as well, and what should give confidence to supporters, I suppose, is that this deal has been, a lot of work has gone into it from a lot of different parties. It's not just been knocked up over a week or two. That's why it's solid.
Yeah, and I think negotiations is the detail of the negotiations weren't as long as people would think, because we were waiting for the independent report. So the council and ourselves, our hands were quite tied in that way. So once we make an offer and the council say they want to do an independent report, which we supported, that's the timing. We haven't really been sitting there across the table and saying we should do this, you should do this, etc. We've been waiting for this report, and once that came, we had a period of negotiation, and we came to an agreement.
And you mentioned there earlier about obviously this needs to go to the formal ratification in the early parts of December. People on the outside, the grey area, it could still fall down. Is it more of a formality because of so much of the work that's gone into it, or is there a little bit more to it?
I think there's always more to it. I think it's all the members have seen the information, and I think it was well supported. So I do believe that we're moving in that direction. I think Jonathan himself said he was. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he said he was relatively confident of progressing to the next stage of legal agreement. So it has been a long time, and we've had a few false starts in this process. So we're not thinking it's been completely rubber stamped, and until we get a signed agreement, we'll be, but I'm sure the council feel the same way. But it'd be very, very, very strange at this point for things to change too dramatically. It would be our view, because it's very hard for anyone to say well, we disagree with an independent report. From the council's perspective or our perspective, it's that's been done, and we accept what's been said. So we hopefully we can all move on smoothly.
And obviously, the conversation we're going to have now is with all that in mind. Obviously, it's got to go through the process in the early parts of December. But talk about the deal in particular, with the land behind, which is available as soon as you finish the east stand. So let's talk about the stand for a second. What's the process? Say it all goes through, we're absolutely fine after the first week of December, green light, off you go. What's the next step?
Well, we've already started that process. We've already got those plans in place, and we've shown the basic plans. It's then just firming those up, speaking to the contractors, and getting things moving. We want to finish the stand as quickly as we can. We've always said that, but we want to ensure that we do it right and we do it properly, and we finish the stand, and make sure. Times are tough right now in terms of construction. It's going to be, and that has always been our concern as things move past COVID, etc. And suddenly, getting material, I believe, is very tough, and I think that's a shared problem around the world. So, but we want to get going as quickly as we can. So we need to work with the contractors and start that process.
Yeah, you mentioned the difficulties there, and it's the black and white question that's never black and white, and it's the question all fans want to know as well, isn't it? You mentioned the difficulties, obviously, the contractors, the materials, etc., and all that kind of stuff. When can, in an ideal world, fans expect the work to start?
But as I said, we want to go as quick as possible. I know there was a bit of talk around in terms of the council agreement in terms of 3 to 5 years. That's not that 3 to 5 years. It was not when the stand's going to be finished. That was all about protecting the club and the council, because at the end of that period, it's a complicated legal process. But at the end of that period, if something hasn't happened here at the stand or with the land, then we've agreed as a club to give the land back to the council. So it's protecting that position. So we would obviously want that to be 5 years. We've talked to the council about that 3-year period, but we think there is a option agreement with Homes England, an overage agreement with Homes England that we aren't fully in control of in that process. So we have to be very careful, and we have to protect the football club. But that 3 to 5 years is not a gauge of when we think the stand will be finished, and the commitment from us from the club is that we're going to finish the stand as quickly as we can. Obviously I can't commit to, because we haven't had the formal discussions with the contractors, and until we get the formal agreement with the council, we probably won't have those. But we'll have some informal discussion, but we'll keep the fans updated as along the way, and we'll have dates, and we'll have targets, and we'll make sure the fans know that as well.
As opposed to when construction will start, then, with your informal discussions with the contractors, etc., from when the work first starts, do you have an estimated time of how long it will take to complete, whenever that may be?
We've talked around, and this is information from previous, sort of that 4 to 6 month build process, and that's the build. That's not getting people on site, etc., etc. But the build process could take 4 to 6 months. So, but that may have changed. That may have been pushed out a little bit with the problems of getting workers and the problems of getting material. But we'll see. I would hope in the new year we'll have much more information. We'll be able to give much more information about that. And you'd love to have a date and next pre-season, or next Christmas, etc. And you say you could be opening up the stand. So but I'm not putting those dates on it, because it's not the way we operate anyway. So and we still need to get through this process in December, which we fingers crossed is a smooth process. But the commitment from us is that we want to build it as soon as we can.
Yeah. And obviously a big part of the deal, where it says obviously the finishing of the stand will be funded completely by the football club. Do you have an estimate as to how much that will cost?
Again, we've always been working on the 3 million quid sort of range, but again, one of our concerns is, does that go up a little bit? Does that do we improve on that? It depends on material. We all know material costs have gone up, so we have been, we can only go on what the situation is at the time. So and we'll look at it, and we'll, like anything else, we'll do it. We'll try and do it as effectively and efficiently as possible in terms of financially, and but we'll ensure that it's a good standard. That's the key. We're not going to roughshod up a stand just because it's cheaper. It wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. We're going to make sure it's finished. I'm not sure there's going to be diamond studded walls or anything like that, but it's definitely going to be of a standard that fans will be excited about, for sure.
And once obviously the stand is completed, for want of a better phrase, it kind of unlocks the land behind, doesn't it? What are your plans for that land?
Again, that's a long way off, really. When you think about it, we're talking about that could potentially be 15, 16, 18, 2 years. So we haven't got any set plans. We've shown the development area we think makes sense. We've talked about with the council about employment land in terms of warehousing, and you see a lot of it going up. Northampton's a popular place for that because of the location, and it makes sense for this site where we are. We've looked at housing, we've looked at retail, we've looked at all the different things, and of course, we'll make some decisions, and we'll talk to developers, but we're not. The key for us was to get a deal to protect the football club in the future, and that was what we feel we've done. Some may agree, some may disagree, but that's what we truly feel we've done with this, and ensure that we're comfortable, we're confident funding the stand and using the assets of the football club to do that.
Yeah, and that's the point when you mentioned about the future, isn't it? Because I know all of these questions are quite hypothetical, and they're a long way off in terms of when we'll see everything completed, and kind of, especially with the land behind, the profitability running back into the club. But you clearly feel in the long term this is going to be a real asset.
listen, the reality is, and we've said this before, and it does get ignored in some parts of the fan base, but the football club never had this as an asset. That land was never a football club asset, and we now look at it, and it is a significant asset for the football club, and it's owned. CD now is owned by the club, and we that was the whole point of doing all this, was to ensure that the football club had assets going forward, and if we have to use those assets to fund parts of the development of the club, then that's what we'll do. It's a sensible approach. Every club's done it. You look at Exeter. Exeter's a perfect example of that. That's how they funded their new stand. They had some land that with the council, they did a deal with a developer, and they sold it for student housing. I know the people at Exeter very well. The chief exec is a good friend of mine, and we've talked about it a lot. And it's a simple process. It shouldn't be a complicated matter. And the council have recognised that. Lambeth Smithhampton have recognised that, and the club have recognised that. It's a good deal all round. Really, it's one of those deals you can walk away from. So yeah, we've all done okay out of this. And that's important for the club to have that sort of asset in the background where you can fund certain things going forward.
On the land behind, one of the concerns, of course, is you mentioned potential of warehousing, and obviously that's got to be cemented going forward. One of the concerns is that it's going to be right on the back of the stand. It's going to look awful. It's going to make the ground feel really enclosed. What can you say about that?
Well, I think you just got to look at the plans that we put out there in June or July. I don't understand where that idea's come from. It's kind of ridiculous, really. Like, there's an ample space behind the east stand, and our plan was that we would replace some of the parking that we would have lost, and some of the development up at the top. So to ensure that, and there'll be some parking for the boxes and the hospitality areas over here. But that's well over half the athletics track anyway. So we see that as plenty of room. And so it certainly won't be. We won't be hemming the stadium in whatsoever. I think one of the advantages of this whole stadium is the space around it, and the ability at the appropriate time to expand and put different facilities up, and maybe expand the north and south end, which we've talked about, in other aspects of the development. So it's certainly not a concern. It's maybe it's a stick to beat us with for some reason, but it's certainly nothing that makes sense and not what we've put out. So we almost feel it's made up really to add concern. But no, it's our plans are up there. Our plans are still on the website, and you can see a good sized car park and a lot of space behind the east stand.
And just a final one on the deal before we move on to what's been going on the pitch in the last couple of weeks. You mentioned them again there. We talked about them earlier in terms of the independent firm that's been looking over this deal. Is that and that will become, their report will become available to read. Is that what really underpins this and gives the strength and confidence to supporters, that you can say, look, go and read it for yourself. It's an independent firm who have looked over this, and it's best value for the club and best value for the council, which is what Jonathan Dunn said last week. Yeah,
and that's the key. And the key had to be, the council's responsibility. Our responsibility is to the club. The council's responsibility is to the taxpayer of Northampton. And they've done their due diligence. They've done their work, and you commend them for that. And listen, we kind of all know what happened previously, and they couldn't make the same mistake. And it's a different proposition, because the council aren't giving us any money. We're actually giving the council money. So it's a very different proposition to what happened previously. But they still had to do more on this deal than I think probably any other deal, and that's understandable. We don't have an issue with that, and I think the people of Northampton should be proud of what the council have done, and how strongly they've looked at the due diligence of this. So from the council perspective, they've done a tremendous job in making sure that it does pay for the taxpayer, and the same with us. We've done our work, we've done our due diligence, and we've worked hard to ensure that it's a good deal for the football club, and that's the key. And we see the football club as a whole. It's not owners and club. We're all the same, and that's how we see it, and that's what we're doing. And it's a big project. For me in particular, we've talked about and making decisions of actually moving back to to England and seeing this project through, and that's some of the things that we're talking about. I'm sure there'll be a few that'll be disappointed they won't be able to call me an overseas owner anymore, but that's what we're doing, and that's what we're looking at doing, and ensuring that we can see this project through on this stand, because it's a big build and it's a complicated process, and we've got to make sure that we do it right.
Moving on the pitch then, the last couple of weeks it's really clicked. There's 4 games in the league with, was it 10 goals scored and none conceded, against teams at the bottom, teams at the top as well. A settled side, really starting to take shape now this season.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. Things take time to gel, but I think the consistency of selection has been excellent. I think that's really helped. I think if you take the Hartlepool performance, and the result was disappointing, but I think there was a lot of encouragement coming out of the Hartlepool performance, and I think it would have been easy for John to see that we lost that game and then make some changes. But I think he stuck, because he saw the performance. He stuck with what he wanted, the shape that we had, and it worked. And the next 4 games were exceptional. I think I think the key is as well. I think and the atmosphere on Saturday for the cup game was, anyone that was here it was excellent, and I think fans are really starting to appreciate the way we're playing, the sort of pace and power that we're showing, the counter-attacking style that comes out, but also the ability to keep the ball and hold the ball and keep possession, and we mix it up well, and we mix it up well, and that's the key to it. I think that's excellent.
Yeah, you mentioned there about Saturday, obviously FA Cup replay to come. That was a proper cup tie then.
Yeah, it was, and I think people see Cambridge as our competitors, a League 2 team, but they're a League 1 side, and they're 10th in League 1. And they look good. I thought they looked good on Saturday, and I think we were competitive with them for sure. And in fact, at times in the second half, I thought we looked much stronger, and we could have gone on to win it. But they're going to be a tough test. Bristol's going to be a tough test. I was at the Oxford Bristol Cup game on Sunday with my lad Connor, and we watched that game, and they're a strong side. They're a team of men, so that'll be a challenge on Saturday as well.
A different source of pride, I suppose. It was defeat, but to see the Papa John's Trophy game against Brighton, to see how many young players played, to see a 15-year-old be the youngest ever player at the club starting at centre back. What were your feelings when you saw that?
Pride more than anything else, and that shows the investment and the time and effort and the work that's gone into the academy. Let's be real about that. And I think if you watch the game, we competed with the Brighton under 21, under 22, and 23 side. I'm not sure which one they are, but still, that's an older group. That's a lot of our youth team players are playing, and in that game, and on the bench. I think I saw a statistic. There was an average age of 20 in the team, and the bench was an average age of 17. And it's anything with our academy. It's like, was it planned that Josh was going to play in that game? Probably not, but circumstances happened, and the kid came in and absolutely took charge of it and took his opportunity. He did fantastically well, and you talk to Samo, and we talk to the people in the academy, and you see the players that are coming through. So and it's actually, it gets missed sometimes. People moan about the Papa Johns and they call it the B team tournament, but it's absolutely not. That to me is one of the advantages of the Papa Johns right there. The ability that we can blood players like that, young players that can have an opportunity to go and play in the first team, and exciting. So no, that was really good. I really enjoyed it.
And then brilliantly as well, it's got to be said that the next day the youth team go and win their cup tie with so many of the players that played the day before. Now at 15, it's fine. You've made a rubber, aren't you? You can get up in the morning, it's fine. But it's, again, just testament and to strength of the players that came in.
Yeah, fair play. I did. You do laugh about that, because your mindset is always the first team, and you think, it's going to be tough for a player to play on a Tuesday and Wednesday. Then you actually do remember at 16 and think back to what you were doing at 16 when you were probably playing 3 games on a weekend and getting up maybe with a hangover on a Sunday morning and playing, but maybe not 16, but probably were. But yeah, so no, fair play to them. The lads done well, and I think, and then the next round they've got a decent draw and a home game, so it'll probably be at Sixfields. I'm not sure if that information's come out yet, but when that comes out, and it's like the women playing here and getting a really good crowd, and hopefully the youth team will get a really good crowd here as well. So we've had a big run of home games, and now we've got some away games coming up. So hopefully, people will want to come to Sixfields and watch the youth team play, which could potentially be next week. But I would wait for details for sure.
Yeah, you just mentioned that. I was actually going to come on to them as well, because since the last time we spoke, women's team were here, hammered Rotherham in front of, what is it, over 650 odd fans or something like that, which is a fantastic turnout, and they're going from strength to strength as well.
Yeah, no, we're helping. The club is working very closely with the women's programme. There's a lot of conversations going on right now about what we can do and what the future of that looks like. So that was very exciting, and hopefully it'll be the sort of thing we can repeat again here. And we are absolutely a community club, and that sort of stuff, to go from the women's to the academy youth team and the first team and all the other stuff we do around, it really shows when we have good games like that.
Just finally then, for me, just want to touch on Martin Foyle, obviously leaving the club, came in over the summer as the head of recruitment. You can see his influence with the players coming down from Scotland, and most of them being a real success as well. How damaging is it, him leaving? Is it a surprise, or was it always a possibility?
I think one of the things with Martin is we always talked about him wanting to do a bit of coaching, him in some of the conversation with James, and that really wasn't available with us, with Colin and Rico. So we see it as actually a real positive. We used Martin to come in, and he did a real good job for us, and we kind of knew that he was going. Timing isn't, I'll be up front, timing's not great, but we've actually got a plan in place, and I think with the recruitment committee, it's really helped that process in terms of we're much more confident about it now, and we've got some good discussions going on right now. We hope to, we'll make an appointment at some point, but we've already got targets, and we've all, obviously you've got Graham and you've got Colin and you've got Samo. You've got tremendous experience in there anyway in the recruitment field, so it's certainly not damaging to the club, and we take the advantage of what Martin did for us this summer, and wish him well, and Martin's been a coach for a long time, and I've been involved with clubs that have played against Martin's teams as a manager and as a coach, so we couldn't offer him that, and we understand that, and he's probably got that opportunity at Morecambe, and hopefully he takes a big coat with them up in Morecambe, but he's been in Scotland, so he's used to that weather as well. So but no, fair play to him, and good luck to him, and we'll move on, and as the recruitment committee will meet, discuss our targets, and hopefully we can have a good January as well.
Yeah, and just finally, just to follow up on that, I mean, as you mentioned there, it's important as well that with this committee that you've got, it's not as if when the head of recruitment leaves, the recruitment is ripped apart. You've got those targets, as you mentioned, but are you looking to replace that role, or replace the person in that role, and how quickly are you looking to do that?
We will replace that role, because you need what we call boots on the ground type thing with the committee to bring a lot of the information in. But we've also got a structure underneath the head of recruitment, so there is a structure in place anyway. So we'll continue with that structure, and we'll make sure we get the right person. And it might not be a short-term appointment. It might be somebody that comes in after the window, or somebody can help sort of consult you. It's going to be tough to bring someone in unless they're out of work now. So we're evaluating the people that have approached us, and we've got a couple of targets ourselves, a couple of people we're talking to. So I think that's important as well, and we're not going to rush into it. And that again is the strength of where we are. You're right, the structure's there, so it's not so important that we don't have a head of recruitment right now. It's because the structure's in place underneath it, alongside it, and above it, so it works.
Brilliant.